Hi, Jeff Voigt here with Jeff Voigt, owner, aerial photographer. That's the name of my business. One day I'm going to come up with a snappier tune, but right now it's Jeff Voigt, owner, aerial photographer. Today's Sunday, the 17th of May. It's about 5 o'clock in the evening. And what I thought I'd do in today's video is introduce you to the aircraft and the controller that combined produce these images that seem to be catching on my YouTube channel, Facebook, and my website. So the aircraft is actually the Mavic 2 Pro. This is the aircraft itself. I've been flying this particular aircraft for about 2 years, about 300 hours of flight time on it, and that's equivalent to about 3,000 air miles. It's a fun aircraft to fly. You can fly it at 47 miles an hour for 30 minutes. It's got a 5-mile range. In order to comply with the Federal Aviation Administration rules, you have to keep the aircraft within line of sight. In over 2 years, I've determined that about 1,500 feet is about where this becomes a speck in the sky, that I can still see it in the general airspace, and so I'm compliant with the letter of the law. It has sensors all the way around, so that if you could visualize a soap bubble, a 10-yard soap bubble built around the whole aircraft, when it's flying, it will sense things and either steer around them or stop before colliding with them. And that's a very important thing from a safety point of view, obviously. The biggest sensor is actually the one that you're looking at right here. It's this Hasselblad lens that is attached to the aircraft. It's native to the aircraft. Hasselblad is the name of a camera manufacturer that actually built and designed the cameras that the astronauts put on their chests and walked on the moon with. So this 6-ounce camera is really quite capable, and it's the piece of glass that's producing the images that are so popular. It's mounted on a 3-axle gimbal. So you'll notice when I rotate the aircraft around, that camera lens really keeps looking at you, which is where the camera is. That's a really neat thing about combining a 3-axle gimbal with a great camera and a superior aircraft. I've always looked at this as my 400-foot tall tripod, because it's a mobile tripod at that, a 47-mile-an-hour, 5-mile range mobile tripod. So this is the largest sensor, but it's not the only sensor on the aircraft. That big bubble I described, there are sensors here on the front that look like a set of eyeballs. That's really essentially what they are. These two vision sensors look forward, and they sense in a two-dimensional plane what objects are coming near or going away. So it helps us steer around objects or avoid them. There's an infrared device here that helps us avoid obstacles above us. On the bottom of the aircraft, you'll see 2 more vision sensors here and here. And below this one is an infrared sensor that helps assess heat signatures on the ground to help determine safe landing spots and to avoid objects that might be dangerous to land upon. This is actually a light that illuminates the ground. If you're flying near sunrise or sunset and reduced visibility, this lights up automatically, and it provides these 2 vision sensors with enough light to determine if there's a safe place to land. There's also 2 vision sensors on the back and a vision sensor on the right rear quarter and the left rear quarter of the aircraft to create that 360-degree bubble. It's powered by a big battery. The battery, you can see it's on right now. It's blinking at us here. The battery just pops out. Weighs about 3/4 of a pound. The whole aircraft with the battery weighs 2 pounds, so the battery is a lot of the weight. I carry 6 batteries, so I can fly for, almost 2 hours if desired. And that's a lot of time standing up on your feet if you're filming things or working for people. So this is the aircraft, and I like it. It's a lovely flyer. It's really kind of cool when it's airborne, and if you're a drone geek like me, you really enjoy stuff like that. This is actually the controller. So this is a radio control unit in my left hand on the bottom, and a crystal sky monitor in my right hand up above. The nice thing about this monitor is that it's big and it's very, very bright. You probably can't tell on the camera that's filming this, but this screen is 3 times brighter, literally 300% brighter than the best iPhone out there. So if you're standing out there in the middle of the day and the sun is glaring down on you directly on this screen, you can still see everything that's on this screen. And you know what's on this screen? Is everything that this camera is looking at. So they call it FPV, first person view. So when I'm looking at this screen, I'm really in the aircraft looking through the eye of that camera, and it's here on the screen for me. So it's live. When you're shooting images, and you know the camera you can put in manual mode and set it up just like the fanciest DSLR camera that you walk around with. You can set up your images, you can put the drone in a hover, it will fly itself by itself in the place you tell it to go while you busily set up the image through the camera. So with that big bright view and a large screen, you take an image, you really know what that image is going to look like even before you get on the ground and you start to edit little deficiencies out of it. You've got a really good idea of what that product looks like before you land. 2 other nice things about this big screen. From my manned flying days, which were strictly recreational and civilian flying, it was really critical to have what we used to call situation awareness. It's very unforgiving up there, obviously. If you don't know of objects coming near you or other aircraft in your vicinity, you've lost the bubble and you're unsafe. With this big bright screen and a gimbal that can rotate quickly if you tell the aircraft to rotate it, you've really got a good idea of what the airspace is around you. So I think it's a legitimate way to add safety to this profession. The second good thing about this monitor is all the flight data is on here. The drone actually connects to satellites. So if you let go of the control sticks, it assumes that you want it to stay in the spot where it was when you let go of the sticks. That's how I set these images up. I'll set it up in a hover. I don't need to worry about the aircraft moving around, even if there's a 15-knot crosswind or a 25-knot crosswind. The thing will stay there, dead center, where you tell it to stay. Then I could set up the image using the data that's on the screen here. Other data on this screen, there's airspeed, altitude, time of flight, the number of satellites you're hooked up to. There's even an artificial horizon in the lower left corner here, just like what you would find in a real aircraft cockpit. There are some imaging devices here, there's avoidance devices here, all sorts of data that help you while you're airborne and setting up the frame and staying safe in the airspace. So anyway, that's the actual television monitor that I look at. Below it is the transmitter itself, and there are 2 sticks, the left stick here on my left and the right stick over here on my right. You don't fly this like a manned aircraft. You know, a manned aircraft has 1 stick. It's pretty easy. It's pretty intuitive. It's not real intuitive on how you would fly a drone. You know, the left stick makes the aircraft go up and down or yaw left and right. So it doesn't move the shadow of the aircraft over the ground. It just makes it go up and down and turn left or right without moving the shadow anywhere. The right stick makes the aircraft move forward, left, backwards, right. And it's the combination of these 2 sticks that create coordinated turns, ascents and descents and landings. So it took a little bit of time for me to learn that, and I'll tell you still have to pretty well focus on it because it's still not as intuitive as flying a manned aircraft. I was going to say real aircraft, but you know what? The FAA considers these drones as real aircraft. In fact, there's an aircraft tail number right here on this landing leg. This aircraft is registered with the FAA. It's interesting, if somebody tries to shoot one of these things down, it's a felony. So I'm delighted that the rules and regulations are getting tighter. I think that drones get a bad rap. There are a lot of bad apples flying these drones, giving all of us guys and gals a bad reputation. So I'm all for more regulations to add more legitimacy to this sport and profession. I'll leave you with this. And my first videotape showed you a dynamic chute. This pad on top of the fuselage here is where the dynamic chute. It's a barrel that shoots out a parachute automatically should this thing lose altitude abruptly or exhibit an unusual attitude in flight. This goes along the lines of my thought about adding more regulations to the sport. I think that it's good to have a dynamic chute on an aircraft like this. Again, like my first tape said, not to protect the aircraft, simply to protect the people and property below it so that it lands gently without damaging things below it should there be an emergency. I think that adds legitimacy to the sport and the profession. And the regulators and the FAA keep adding more and more regs to this. That's fine. Throw the regs at me. I'll continue to comply with this. And I really love flying the aircraft and providing the images and the videos that you are seeming to like a lot. So I appreciate you following me on Facebook, my website. And if you have any questions for me, please, there'll be plenty of emails back and forth if you have any questions. And if you have any ideas about aerial photos that you'd like me to snap or some videos, please put those on my Facebook or my website or my email as well, and we'll go that way and try to keep the content fresh and new. Anyway, I think this is running a little bit too long. Thanks for holding in there with me for 11 minutes and 20 seconds. Be safe, be well. We'll talk to you again.